What do you do after your partner walks out? They've said they've had enough. They can't take it anymore. They don't know why they're there. They love you, but they're not in love with you. For whatever reason, they've decided to walk. What do you do? Where do you go? Stay tuned. Your partner's just walked out. They've gone. And you're in a panic. You reach out to friends or family, or you start researching. And there are so many different conflicting ideas or views as to what to do when your partner does walk out. But the amount of couples that I've worked with that have gone into panic mode and basically done all the wrong things. And the first thing is, if they're feeling aggrieved, if they're feeling hurt, they want to hurt their partner back because that's what they're feeling, and they tell them to go. Okay, I don't want you back, take all your stuff, or they throw their stuff out. They've gone, and I want you to feel just as much pain as I'm in. That's one option. The other option is there no contact. I don't want anything to do with them. And sometimes it's called the 30-day rule, although it's been called many other rules as well, but that seems to be the general term that people use. Now, ignoring your partner, if your hope is that I want to get that person back, I want to get my husband or my wife back, then why would you drop all contact with them? Why would you ignore them? Because really, that just emphasises the point that you shouldn't be together. So in the interest of trying to work on the relationship and get your partner back, non-contact isn't the way to go. It really is trying to work things out and connect with your partner to try and work through your differences, whatever that may be. As I mentioned earlier, the reverse psychology. I want to hurt them. I want to get them back. I want to pay them back for what they've done to me. Very rarely does that work. It just creates resentment, and resentment can lead to contempt. And contempt is one of those nails in the coffin of divorce of your marriage. Contempt is about paying your partner back. It's about trying to do things to hurt them. Communication is obviously the way to go. To try and build up that connection again, you've got to be able to work through your differences or work through the situation that has played out. One of the problems that couples make when they start to have a conversation, a relationship conversation, is that one partner wants surety. They want to know that their partner's coming back. They want to know if they're still loved. When are you coming back? Do you still love me? Do we still have a chance? Now that can and does have a very detrimental effect to your partner, the one that's walked out. They walked out for a reason. And whatever that reason may be, they need time to think. They don't want to be pressured into making some sort of commitment which they know they aren't able to stick with. So try and avoid those questions, the pleading, the bargaining, the begging, because that's what does happen. And that is natural, because if there's something there you really want and you're out of fear of losing it, that's the sort of stance or the position that we take. So just be mindful of how you're coming across. Try and back away from those intense pressure conversations where you need clarity. The situation is confusing, and as humans and in a relationship, we like to have clarity, we like to have surety. But the situation you're faced with is unclear. So for that period of time, you've got to try and be comfortable with that uncertainty, with that grey. And I've used the term before, grey is okay in this situation. So don't try and pressure them into telling them that you love them and do you love me? Oh, we're going to get together again. Oh, we're going to carry on with that holiday that we booked. And try and make them feel guilty by this person's going to miss you or that person's going to miss you. So think about that big relationship talk. Just put that to one side for the time being and just open up those channels of comfortable communication. Consulting family and friends, trying to get advice for them, can be fraught with danger. There may be a bias from one side of the family or another, and they may not agree or say, I knew this was going to end up in disaster. I knew this would happen. And when you're trying to work on the relationship, and because they're your family or your friends, you may tend to listen to them. And it may not be the way to go. It may not be sound advice. Because their advice is obviously biased towards you if they're a friend or family. Their advice may come from a TV show. It may come from a friend. And that's not to say that that relationship ended up well. Different relationships, different things happen. So just be mindful, be careful that although well-meaning, family and friends may not offer the best advice for your situation. So if you are back around the table and you're able to talk about these things, the issues that have caused you to get to this point where one partner has walked out or one partner has left, you've got to settle your differences. You've got to understand, or try and understand, what needs weren't being met by your partner. And obviously the relationship is about two people. So there's two sets of needs there that weren't being met. But one has decided, that's it, I'm out of here. You really have to try and understand how you can work around this so that the same sort of situation doesn't play out. Because if it does, you'll get back together again, and sure enough, 3, 4, 5, 6 months down the track, you'll be faced with the same problem. So change has to happen. You have to learn different ways of relating or meeting your partner's needs. Now, it's not to say that you have to communicate to them or convey to them that you've got needs that need to be met as well. But just at this moment, if your partner's walked out, you can't come on too heavy and start dictating to them what your needs are and how your needs need to be met as well. Because you're the one at the moment that are trying to make amends to get them back in the house. Because if connection is your model of a relationship, which that's the model that I use, then what you want to do, the only way you can do that is to get your partner back in the house and start building up that connection. And for whatever reason they've moved out or they've walked out, the relationship that you have moving forward will probably never be the same. So you've got to design or talk about a new form of a relationship. It can't go back to what it was, because that didn't work. And when you try and use those same set of skills, or that knowledge or the understanding that you have, which has actually brought you to this point now where one partner has moved out, then obviously it's not going to work. So unless you've researched or had some coaching and learnt new skills and new ways of relating, then that's where you'll end up again in 6 months' time, is back in the same position. It isn't easy. It is one of those things that as we go through life, we are faced with many challenges, and when, for whatever reason, the partner moves out, it can be quite confronting. But it's not the end. There are things that you can do. If you do have any questions, please drop me a line and I'll gladly answer them. Or check out the website, and there's lots of information on there. And there's information around what I've spoken about now in the form of a post. If you like this podcast and you'd like to be across some of the others that I put out, please subscribe. Thank you.